Hello there, I'm Julie Rennick, convener of the Nominations Committee. It's good to be able to bring you the report from our committee for this year. As I begin, I'd like to share a couple of quotes from Martin Luther King on the importance of service. He said this: "Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics in physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" The Nominations Committee is the one that is rarely volunteered for. Sometimes it's an afterthought, sometimes it's completely overlooked. But the truth of the matter is that without an effective Nominations Committee, all of the other committees of our church and the forums would simply not be filled. I do confess, before I was invited to join this committee, I really had no clue about its function or even its existence. Yet here I stand, ready to share this year's report, the convener who took over during the pandemic year of 2020. Because of the challenges that last year presented across our church, it was to be expected that getting enough names to cover all of the vacancies that were due to arise would be more challenging than in normal years. We as a committee are fully aware that everyone is exhausted. The pandemic restrictions brought added pressure to already busy lives, and the resulting sense of isolation for others has made them less willing to reach out at this time. Some of the feedback we received indicated that ministers were reluctant to ask more of their folk and were hesitant to push nominations. And we got a similar response from clerks and guilds. This resulted in an overall drop in nominations. This year, we received 82 forms. In 2020, the number was 132. And in 2019, we received nominations from 184 individuals. That's a reduction of more than 100 in just 2 years. Some of those who did put their names forward this year expressed a desire to serve because of the pandemic and all of the things that had happened in the last year. They felt they had been inspired by the way the church has kept going, even under the restrictions we faced. There are a few nominations that we excluded. Now that might sound strange, but I will explain. Generally, if we receive a nomination from a candidate for ministry, a probationer, or a minister in their first year after ordination, we do not normally accept them as part of what we see as our duty of care. We feel that this time of formation and study brings enough challenge without the added work that serving on a national committee will bring. Thus, we've included this in our deliverances for this year, just for noting. We also understand that there are always exceptions, and so we are saying normally rather than never. We are all aware that the past 2 years have seen a huge change within our central structures. The number needed to populate the 2 forums is hugely different to the previous 4 councils, and this certainly accounts for some of the differences in nominations. However, many of the standing committees have not changed in the same way as the forums and the Social Care Council have. Having spoken with conveners before processing all the nominations, we are now encouraging the standing committees to review their constitution and membership structures over the next session. They may be content to continue as they are, but it is always good to take stock from time to time. A new challenge for our committee has been the task of populating the committee to nominate the moderator. We were asked to do this last year when the General Assembly was cancelled, but the remit was already scheduled to come to us for this year. We feel that the committee to nominate the moderator, which has a time-limited but important single task, needs a different approach from general nominations. This year, a short video explaining the remit and indeed the privilege of finding the next moderator was created and launched in early February to support the process. This was well received and generated a good response in terms of application. The video was reviewed more than 6,000 times on Facebook and around 300 times on each of YouTube and Instagram. This resulted in the ability to establish a well-balanced committee. We would encourage you all, this year's commissioners, to consider nomination to serve on the committee later this year. As we go forward, I encourage commissioners to consider how they might be able to contribute to the work of the wider church. To be ready when the email comes inviting nominations, to consider being nominated, or indeed inviting colleagues and friends whose talents they recognise to allow nomination. For the work of our committees and the successful population of the various committees and forums of the church to progress, our work will only continue if you all respond. As I conclude, I particularly wish to thank my Vice Convener, Bill Wishart, our Secretary, Dave Kendall, our Administrator, Karen Lunt, and all the members of the committee who've continued to work diligently, meeting virtually in order to progress the nominations, so that we are able to present our report for your approval.